Salutations, my friends, I'm TheMightyMander, and welcome back to another Overwatch Hero Spotlight. Today we'll be covering everyone's favorite local German man, REINHARDT. As usual, I'll be going over his characterization, abilities, and some general tips and strategies for how to use him effectively. Look, I should probably start prefacing these videos by saying that I am definitely not the best Overwatch player in the world, and some people may say I have no business telling people how to play this game, and you may be right, but I like to think I at least understand the roles of each character enough to figure out where they fit into a team composition and general behaviors that would allow them to be used more effectively, so take it as you will. REINHARDT Wilhelm is a relic of a bygone age. He fancies himself a champion of knights and lives his life by the principles of honor, courage, and valor. He was a decorated German soldier that was part of the original Overwatch team. He helped quell the initial push of Omnics during the Omnic Crisis, and eventually was part of the team that helped quell the Uprising in King's Row, which was the event that you could play as part of the Uprising event that just recently ended. At the present time in the Overwatch timeline, he is a world-traveling nomad maintaining justice wherever he goes. His personality is boisterous and larger than life, and his voice lines are loud, cheesy, and funny as hell. REINHARDT is one of my favorite heroes from a character perspective, just because of how fun he is. He's always got something to say, and if it's not funny, it's wise and contemplative, because he may be a big lovable goof, but he's also a seasoned warrior. Oh, and he's also a huge fan of David Hasselhoff, for some reason. REINHARDT is the only true melee character in Overwatch. His primary is the giant rocket hammer, and he doesn't have a gun, so he's very much a close-range bruiser. You want to close distance? You've got to get really good with either of his shoulder button abilities, the charge and the fire strike. When you don't want to close distance, you got to throw up REINHARDT's shield, a giant barrier wall with 2,000 health. From what I've been able to observe, there's a certain set of expectations that come with playing REINHARDT, and this is actually a good thing, because following these expectations is the best way to use REINHARDT effectively, but we'll get into that in a minute. REINHARDT's moveset is deceptively simple. Fire strike, throw a big ol' flame toward the enemy. Charge, throw a big old yourself toward the enemy, pinning anyone unfortunate enough to step in your way. Your ultimate, Earth Shatter. Throw the giant hammer down on the ground and stun anyone in the immediate area. But, in my experience, there's much more nuance to each ability than one would expect on the surface. Okay, REINHARDT is a very typical tank hero, so when you're playing REINHARDT, you need to keep that goddamn shield up always. There is a reason this thing has 2,000 health. It blocks almost all normal projectiles, with the only moves being able to penetrate it being melee attacks, piercing attacks, and some primaries like Winston's Tesla Cannon. It is one of the most vital parts of the team when it is there. If you are REINHARDT, that is your job, or else you are useless. Okay, fine, it's not that simple. There's more to do as REINHARDT besides be a walking table. Carefully timed aggressive strikes by REINHARDT can wipe an entire team, but most of the time, you have to let the enemy come to you. And they will come to you, because REINHARDT is a huge presence in a match. When you see him and his shield, it just demands attention, subconsciously or not. All of the tanks do, really, but REINHARDT especially can really influence the flow of battle, and it's mostly due to that shield. What I've noticed when I play REINHARDT is that I can almost control the movement of my team, and the enemy team for that matter, by really setting the line of the battlefield with the shield. For example, when you're pushing a payload in either direction, it really seems to help when you move with it with the shield. Or, on a choke point like the one in Eichenwald or King's Row, you can really set up a solid push by setting the line of the battlefield at that choke point. When your shield gets low, or you're being flanked or rushed, which will happen, I'm just gonna warn you, that is when you whip out the Hammer of Justice. It does 75 damage per strike and has a huge arc, so swing away. Like I said, well-timed strikes can make a world of difference in a match. Small heroes don't stand a chance if you catch them, and bigger characters can be pushed back at the very least. Fire Strike is a bit tricky to get used to, but I eventually realized that it's not something you have to be precise with, nor should you really. It's a slow-moving but massive projectile that pierces barriers like Winston, Orisa, Symmetra, and other REINHARDT shields, but can still be deflected by Genji or eaten by D.Va's defense matrix, so watch out for that. This is your only projectile, so use it all the time. Chuck it in empty doorways, use it to split up groups of enemies if you see them, shoot it at airborne targets like a Pharah, use it even when you're 99% sure you won't hit the target, because you still might. On the other hand, however, I found that REINHARDT's charge should be used more sparingly. Charging away from your team, especially when you're trying to establish a foothold, is the easiest way to get yourself and the rest of the team killed. The charge is a very risky move, so use it only in ideal opportunities. It's tricky to control, and it's really easy to miss and get yourself killed. Also, be aware that while you can use it for transport to get yourself back to the point quickly when you die, that leaves you with it on cooldown once you actually get to the action. So just be aware of that. Just as with Charge, Reinhardt's ultimate, Earth Shatter, rewards patience and punishes recklessness. When you use it, Reinhardt brings the hammer down, sending a tremor in front of him that stuns anyone in the affected area. It doesn't stretch quite as far in front of you or as wide as you might want it to, so it's pretty easy to waste, unfortunately. It's a great setup ultimate, similar to something like Graviton Surge, but it doesn't last very long, and Rein can't do much with it himself besides have a clear target to charge. Also, be aware that it can't pierce barriers like the Fire Strike can, so don't expect to knock down a Reinhardt with his entire team behind his shield, because it's just not gonna happen. You're just gonna look like a fucking idiot. Though, I'm pretty sure it can go under a payload that floats off the ground. So I know I've said a lot, but basically what you want to take away from this is that Reinhardt is a crucial keystone to any team composition. He doesn't have to be in every team composition, but when he's there, he is important. When you've got that shield, you've got a large amount of influence over both teams. Use it to your advantage, but also be aware that while you can influence the team's movement, you have to be willing to work with them rather than against them. Move with the flow of the match. Don't be afraid to whack at people with your hammer, but let them come to you. With high-risk abilities in your arsenal like Charge and Earth Shatter, patience is key. An overly aggressive Reinhardt is more of a liability than anything else, but a patient Reinhardt who uses aggression to his advantage when the opportunity arises can be an invaluable part of a team. Use Fire Strike often, but Charge and Hammer Down only when the moment is right. Reinhardt can work in pretty much any team comp, like I said, but having a dedicated healer by your side, like Mercy or Ana, will make you that much stronger. A Reinhardt with Mercy's damage boost or a nano boost is nothing to fucking sneeze at. It is one of the most intimidating presences in the entire game. If you don't wipe the entire enemy team while you're boosted, you can sure as hell scare them away. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this hero spotlight on Reinhardt. Like I said, he's one of my favorite heroes purely based on character, and now, after gathering the footage for this video and really delving into what makes him effective, at least in my experience, he's one of my favorites to play as well. Even if you're a far better Overwatch player or a Reinhardt player than I am, I hope you learned something from this video, as I've certainly learned a lot by making it. As always, I have been the Mighty Mander, and I'll catch you all next time. Peace out, my friends.